everybody hanging in there with the holidays? Getting nutty, getting crazy? Yeah, a little bit. So today I'm talking about honoring the light in all, and our theme for the month, as you can see, is honoring and celebrating the season of light. I love this quote by Charles Schulz. He says, "I love humanity, it's the people I don't like." Right? Yeah, because it's easy to say, well, we're all part of one human family, we're all connected, and I love humanity, and it's all so kumbaya. And then a human cuts us off on the freeway, and suddenly not so much. So, it's sometimes people are people, right? People are people, and they can challenge us, they can get on our last nerve. When 9/11 happened, it was interesting to witness what the change that happened. Do you all remember that?
Oh, yeah.
How people were different? People were kinder to each other. People were more respectful. People were more patient. I lived in Los Angeles at the time, and I just remember driving, and people were just kind and letting you go in front, and and that went on for a while. It went on for a while. And when we witness things like that, it changes us. That was such a major, major tragedy in our history. And there were scientists that actually discovered a shift in the electromagnetic frequency that surrounds the Earth. There's 2 satellites on either side of the Earth, and they measured this electromagnetic frequency, and there was a spike, a tremendous spike that happened, and they thought, what is that? And they actually drilled down to figure out what that spike was, and it was on 9/11. And what happened is because there were people across the entire globe, all of us were mourning and feeling love and feeling sadness, and yet at the same time feeling gratitude for our own families, because we suddenly felt so connected to everybody, and that spike happened. And so that shows us how connected we are. It shows us the impact that we can have on the planet and how truly connected all of us are. Yeah, and but we can be, outside of those kinds of events, we can be stingy sometimes with our love. Yeah, or is that just me? It's like we can be loving towards those we know and those we love and those we care about. But outside of that, sometimes it's a little more challenging. It's a little more challenging to be in that space. And we are all emanations of this divine light. The light that Jim was talking about in these candles, represents the light that is within each of us. And 2 weeks ago I talked about that light, a call to light, and how each of us are here, not as human beings, but as spiritual beings having a human experience. That is who we are, more than anything else. Yeah. And, when things like what happened in 9/11 happened, when these tragedies occur, we get angry. We get angry. Why? Why does things like this happen on this planet? And we start to question that, and we start to we think about the people that did that, and we can't help but feel anger. We can't help but experience that. And, when those things happen, it's easy to love and send light to those who were impacted. But what about those who committed the crimes? What about the perpetrators? We often leave them out because of our anger and because of the discord that we're feeling. We don't include them in our prayers always, do we? We don't always do that. We focus more on the loss that's happened, and certainly it was a tremendous loss. And yet, the perpetrators, they're also part of this humanity that we are a part of. They're also part of this one human family. And it's hard, though, to see that, isn't it? It's hard to recognize that they are too part of this human family that we are all a part of. Yeah. And so, some of you may have seen this week, I think it was on Thursday, the anti-Semitic hate crime that took place in New Jersey. I try to follow the news because I want to know what's going on in the world, so that I can be a healing presence. And I saw this, and I watched the video of the shooters outside of this Jewish kosher market. And I sat in my living room and I sobbed. And I just sobbed. Because, one, certainly thinking about those who were killed, there were 6 people that were killed. But what also made me think about was that other hate crimes that have taken place, and have we not had a lot of them? My goodness gracious. And I sobbed more as I thought about that, and I began to feel hopeless. I began to feel hopeless in that moment. And I suddenly was drawn to go to my phone and to look at an email. And as I was scrolling through my emails, I saw an email that came through from a wonderful spiritual teacher that I've shared before his name is Matt Kahn. And he sends a lot of stuff, I'm on his listserv, I get a lot of things, but something told me to open up his email. So I opened it up, and it said this. Oops.
My bad.
Okay, there we go. He said this. Challenge yourself to cultivate a higher vibration by seeing life through the eyes of the universe. And so there I was, sitting in my living room, and I read this, and so I closed my eyes. And I went into my heart. And I imagined seeing this event that took place in New Jersey, imagining the store, imagining the people, and seeing it through the lens of God. Seeing it through the eyes of the divine. And as I did that, what I saw was light. The entire store was filled with light. All the people who were killed were filled with light. There was light, tremendous light, everywhere. And as I was seeing that, I was just feeling it as well. And what came to me as I was doing that was, there is a higher purpose for what took place. Trust this. I heard that. It wasn't me. It came through me. And so immediately I felt peace. Immediately I felt calm. There are things that happen on this planet that we get upset about, we get angry about, we feel helpless about. And yet, there is always a higher purpose for it. And we can't see that, and we get very caught up in the trauma and the drama of what is going on this planet. But if we close our eyes for a moment, and we see through the lens of God, we see through that lens, we can see something much more than what's actually taking place. There's so much we don't understand. And this event that took place there, how it impacts so many lives, and we can't possibly know. Look how it impacted me. And in that moment, it got me to have a different perspective of what was happening, to shift in a moment from feeling completely hopeless to seeing what was possible, to seeing what was available, to move into a deeper place within me, a deeper place of compassion, a deeper place of light and love, which is the truth of every single one of us. We are extensions of light. We are extensions of love. That is the truth of who we are more than anything else. More than anything else. But we have to stop in those moments when we're feeling that pain. Stop and take a breath. Close our eyes. Slow down. How can I see this differently? How can I have a different vision of what just took place? So we have that choice. We have that choice, but it requires a shift in our perception. And in that moment, we can shift it. It's up to us. But it does start with that awareness and making that decision to see it differently. And even all you're doing is sending light from your heart and blasting that situation with light. If that's all you're doing, that's actually a lot. And trust that there is a higher purpose. There's a higher purpose for everything that occurs on this planet. And it's trusting that. It's trusting that higher purpose. Years ago, I participated in a little mini retreat in Portland, Oregon. And at the time, I was doing things with nature, and I was exploring energy work and shamanic work and different things. And I connected with this woman, and I just called her out of the blue, and I just was curious about her website and her background. And she said, Leah, come work with me. I'll teach you everything I know. Such a privilege. And so I traveled to Portland, and I stayed at her house for 4 days, and she took me up to nature, and she taught me how to connect in a really deep way to the creeks and to the rocks and to the trees, and we did all these amazing things together. And on the last day, I was just blissed out. On the last day, we're walking through this little path, and there was, in Portland, they cut down a lot of trees. Yes, a lot of our lumber comes from there. And we're walking down this path, and we turn the corner, and a huge clearing with all the trees cut down. And as I turn the corner, and I see this, it was so shocking to me, and I began to cry. And then I began to feel anger. And she said to me, and she knew what was going on with me, and she said, Leah, I want you to go, and I want you to sit on one of the stumps. And I want you to close your eyes. And I want you to tune in and check out what's actually happening here. So I said, oh my God, yeah, whatever. So I was like, I see what's happening here. So I said, okay. So I sat, and I closed my eyes, and I listened, and I tuned in, and what I got is that all is well. There was no pain there. There was nothing that was missing there. There was nothing that needed to be changed there. There was absolute perfection. The perfection of God, the perfection of life, the perfection of, our eyes see one thing, but again, there is so much more happening. I was crying because the intelligence of the trees and how they were just so cut down without any care or concern. And yet that intelligence was still there. That vibration and that light and that love was still present. And as I tuned into it, I could feel it. I could feel it. And suddenly joy was in my heart. And she said, yeah. So it is a perception. It's our perception. But sometimes we have to slow down. I had to close my eyes. I had to tune in to really get what the truth of that situation was. And that's true for all of us. Whatever that situation is for you, whether it's a family situation, whether it's a work situation, a financial situation, whatever that is, our mind will tell us one thing, and our mind can take us down roads, right? But if we stop, and we close our eyes, and we actually tune in and check in, what is this about? What's the higher purpose here? There is so much more that's available to us. There's so much more that's available. And when we're witnessing something hard in the world, something where there's a hate crime or something challenging like that, or maybe it's even something in our own life, someone that has hurt us deeply, and we don't understand. We don't understand why. Why is this happening? Joshua in The Way of Mastery. The Way of Mastery is the most extraordinary book I have ever read. And he says this, what would you have me say or do that would serve the healing of my brother's or sister's heart? And so those who are perpetrators on this planet, who are causing harm, who have caused us harm, what if, instead of dismissing them and being angry at them and holding a grudge towards them, what if we tune in and we ask this question? What would you have me say or do to heal, to serve the healing of my brother's or sister's heart? Is there something that could be done or said? And maybe you don't want to say anything, and that's okay. but maybe it's simply sending them love and light. Because anybody who causes harm or with intention to cause harm is hurting. Because our natural expression is love. That is our natural expression. And anything outside of that, there's pain there. There's pain that's present. And can we have compassion for another being who is hurting? Even if their intention is to cause pain on this planet in an enormous way, such as what happened in New Jersey. They walked into that store, they wanted everybody gone, clearly. But in order to do something like that, boy, do you have to be hurting. Boy, do you have to be disconnected from God. Boy, do you have to be disconnected from your soul, from your heart, from every truth that we talk about here. Yeah? They need love more than anything. They need light. They need our healing presence. Asking, what can I do to serve my brother or my sister? What can I do for them? Yeah. These events give us an opportunity to cultivate more light within ourselves. Every time we do that, every time we make a shift in our perception, as it changes us individually, it changes the collective. Because we are all one mind and we are all connected, as I shift what is within me, it shifts and goes out and shifts humanity. Do you get that? Because we are all connected. That is how it works, guys. This is how it works. And so it's trusting that. It's trusting that. And it's making choices in those moments. Like I sat there on my living room couch as I watched this video, and I felt completely helpless and hopeless. We've all had those moments. But then what we do is we feel that, and then we go into anger, we go into blame, and we just keep spiraling. But choose those moments as an opportunity to do something different. That's where discipline comes in. That's where it's walking the spiritual road. It's like, okay, I have a choice here. Choosing something different. Matt Kahn has a beautiful quote about something that he says whenever a hate crime has occurred on the planet, whenever there is discord or something that has gone on this planet, this is what he says. Oops, no, I didn't say that. Going backwards. Is it not here? Oh, maybe I didn't include it. Okay, so I'm going to read it to you. May the souls of the perpetrators be transformed. So really close your eyes for a moment. May the souls of the perpetrators be transformed. May the lineage be healed. May all victims be healed. And may we live on a planet where we don't need darkness to inspire our light. So just breathing that in, the beauty of that. And just coming back. What a beautiful prayer to say, yes? And it's truly all about honoring. It's honoring the light at all. That means every person. That means every perpetrator. That means every single person who has caused harm with intention or not. It's honoring them. We are all brothers and sisters on this planet. We are all connected. We are all divine. Some have just forgotten that. They've just forgotten it. That's really all that it is. Yeah. So in this week to come, as here we are, holiday season, we're getting together with our families. For some, it's a joyous time. For others, not so much. Right? People that trigger us, people that push our buttons. You know who they are. So what if you walk into that family gathering? What if, as you think about the family members that perhaps are those ones that trigger you, think about them as that divine presence. Think about them as that divine light. Share that light that is within you with them. Be that God presence that you are. show up that way. Practice that in this week. Practice that in the weeks to come. Yeah. So let's end with our affirmation once again. Let's say it out loud together. As I practice seeing through the eyes of God, I honor the light in all. Practitioners, please stand in high consciousness. Yes, let's just begin by taking a breath. And so we know right here, right now, that beautiful presence of the divine, that it exists within us, and as it exists within us, it exists within all beings. That light and that love and that peace and that power is who each of us are. And it just means that it may be forgotten in some, but it doesn't mean that it gives us that right to then disconnect from them completely and hold ourselves away from them. Yet what it does is it provides an opportunity for us to go into love even more, and allowing these individuals to wake us up to love, to wake us up to light, to wake us up to even more joy. As we recognize and know and honor the light in all. For we all are connected. And so I give thanks for that. I give thanks for being reminded of that. For these moments of grace where God shows up and shows us how to share our light and be that light. And so we give thanks, such great thanks, for the opportunities that we are given every single day. And so I'm knowing that we are blessed on this journey. I'm knowing that we are guided on this journey. I'm knowing that each of us are given exactly what we need. The perfect email at the perfect time, the perfect words, the perfect book, the perfect resources, the perfect individuals are showing up at the perfect time to support us in our spiritual evolution and our spiritual development on this planet. As we walk this human walk, we are supported, we are guided, we are uplifted. Always, and in all ways. And so I just say, thank you, God, thank you, Spirit, thank you for all that you give each of us. And I let this go, and I allow it to be, and I release it, and I just hand it over and surrender it, knowing that it is done. And we ground this in together by saying, and so it is.
Jerry Jacobs, everybody.